Oh my God.
Only 700,000 views on it.
You'll recall when I was last on Tim Pool's program, one of the things we talked about is I complained to him that like he spends so little time talking about stuff that are meaningful, like Social Security, although he did opine on it after reading 2 paragraphs of an article. That was his words, not mine. And I said, well, you spend so much time on like the notion of civil war in this country. He's been saying there's a civil war for, I would say, close to 10 years.
Yeah, he has. The thing is that Tim Pool is a nut because there is a bit of a, I would say, not a civil war, more than I would say like there is a huge fissure in this country like crazy that he refuses to even look over at. I kind of talk about it a little bit, but I have to always talk about it in code. I mean, let's keep it real. There is an infiltration in our government, and it starts with a Z. And if y'all don't know what I mean by that, just keep on. You'll find out. Matter of fact, just go ahead and like and subscribe and share, hit the notification bell. Thank you. And eventually you will see exactly what I'm talking about. The fact is that Tim Pool is not allowed to talk about these situations. Tim Pool was meeting up with Netanyahu and everything. And I'll never take him serious ever since seeing that. But in the meantime, guys, Sam Seder is right. Tim Pool talks about everything and anything but the real problems. And then we'll talk about them in a fake way. With that said, let's go ahead and see what Sam Seder has for us as he destroys, demolishes, and obliterates Mr. Tim Pool for his nonsense, boring takes that just, say fence-sitting BS and have people looking for something that's not there but is there. It doesn't make sense, does it?
Or that one's going to happen. And I still don't think that there's going to be a civil war in this country. But I guess if it gets them on to trigonometry.
I mean, we have mass shootings, some of which are like politically motivated. We have
militias.
Yeah, right.
Without a doubt. But that's not a civil war per se. But here's Tim Pool. Remember, you got to feel for Tim because his favorite band turned out to
be led by a trans person.
Be led by a trans person. That was very hard for him to deal with. And he thought a couple of years ago, I'm going to be making all this money from Russia. He didn't know it was from Russia at the time. It was from Gerard Depardieu or somebody like that. And then all that money went away. And so he's got to get back to the Civil War thing. Here he is. Also, you know what else I notice? He's wearing the exact same sweatshirt, too, every day now. Wasn't he wearing that same?
Yeah, it is becoming like the whole bit about like, I'm never going to change it. I'm going to be like, okay, Tim, look, far be it from me. I'm not going to sit here and act like, oh, Tim is, what was me as far as like, oh, he's poor and everything. No, but he's not, but dude is acting like it though. I mean, he did just complain about Brian Tyler Cohen and everybody getting their views up. And he thinks it's just because they're baiting YouTube. He's been annoying lately. I will say he has been annoying. But this thing here, I'm not telling you to wear a suit to work, but can you switch it up a little bit?
Same one the other day that we were looking at, the clip of him?
Sometimes he has a blazer over the hoodie, but yeah.
Okay.
Like Abraham Lincoln was the bad guy? Or do we say...
He's talking about how Abe Lincoln suspended habeas corpus in the course of the Civil War.
Oh, so in other words, there was an actual war going on in the country, and Lincoln suspended habeas corpus.
Yeah.
Okay.
In times of war, a wartime president makes difficult decisions which are outside what our principles purport to be.
But we're not in the time of war.
And it's also Tim. No, we're not.
So when
Tim, can I just make a point? And this
we are
is
in time of war.
Right. Okay. We'll come to that in a second. When the government takes away rights, it is very difficult, if not almost impossible, for you to get them back. Can we just agree that?
Yes.
You know what's so annoying is that now he makes this guy, I always forget his name because really he's not like, I think that he gets treated on this podcast by Konstantin Kisin, who always has to be the one who's, anyway, shining. But what is annoying is that now he makes these guys look normal. Like, he makes them look like they're actually genuine people telling him, like, we're not in a time of war. We need to save rights. And but let me tell you, they would not fight for the rights of people who were talking about Israel in a negative tone, if you will.
So you are willing to give up rights in this society for the government to then come in and then enact against the enemies?
When have humans ever not done that? Give me one example. One.
In civilized society.
Not true. In World War II, the United States implemented US officers.
1 second. This is. He wants an example of when people have never taken away.
It's funny because he's listing exceptions, right?
Well, that's the thing. It's like a double negative, right? When have humans not taken away habeas corpus?
It's like, well, I can mention the time that it was in Civil War, and also, okay, I'll do another example, which was World War II, which is, again, like, also, we shouldn't have done a lot of things that we did do during World War II.
Well, I think we can look back in all of our history and say there were things that we shouldn't do.
Right.
Like slavery.
We don't need to, I knew that was going to be the next one. We don't even need to go there. But the point is that, like, without even going there, it's like, what are we talking about here, Tim? And the fact that he's willing to do this it just goes to show you how much he's so establishment. Being pro-Trump does not make you not establishment. Understand, because MAGA will go wherever Trump moves. If Trump decided to declare martial law right now in America and suspend rights, they'll say he must have a good reason for it, and that's fine. And I don't think people understand that it does not begin and end with Trump. You know, it doesn't. And I'm going to make one more point about that, but I just want to see just a little bit more in this video.
Let's put it this way. If we're at war right now, there is no time where we've never been at war.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Give me one example. One.
In civilized society.
Not true. In World War II, the United States implemented the U.S. Office of Censorship and banned people from
It's interesting that you say this because all anti-Ukraine people in America keep calling Zelensky a dictator for having martial law, which is in line with the Ukrainian constitution, and not having.
Of course. Constantine, tell us more about how much you love Ukraine and hate Russia.
An election like the UK
Well, he
didn't.
declared it, and the Constitution says that he can declare it and Congress can uphold it. There's an argument that he can overturn it.
Well, my point is.
But I agree. In a time of war, presidents do crazy things.
But you're stretching the definition of war way beyond its remit.
No, I'm not. It's called fifth and sixth generational warfare. So we have technological advances in conflict, and they alter how we perceive what war is. If you go back to the earliest days, what is the purpose of a conflict? Why do wars happen? Sometimes they're silly. You don't believe in the same God as me, so you must be destroyed. I mean, these are largely silly, but they have to do with cultural cohesion, so they come from somewhere from an evolutionary psychological perspective. But typically it's resource conflict. Resource is the principal driver. I do think it's absolutely hilarious that the East India Trading Company engaged in warfare that resulted in the death of 50,000 people because black peppercorn was a delicacy, it was a luxury in Europe and UK. But typically it's, I don't have enough food or water, and I will take it, and my people will not die. I don't care how I have to get it. And it's the same thing you see at the root level with a man who steals bread.
Oh, so we're going to pause it for 1 second. Wait a second. I just want you to know, like, I think what he was arguing is that we're at war right now. Instead, he clearly has boned up for this and studied about what is war about. And I'm going to I don't know what he read or listened to and memorized for this interview. But he's so excited to be able to project that he is smart enough to know that war is about resources unless it's not. And it's just about, my God's better than your God. And peppercorn, that was one of the anecdotes that amused me about the peppercorns. But the question is, how is it that we're at war? And he's basically come up with a new definition of war, a more modern definition, which is war that is so subtle that we don't know about it. Now, people used to call this economic war. Or just trade.
Listen, okay, we don't even need to I'm sorry. Let's just see just a little bit more of Tim, and then I'm going to finish off my thought processes with him.
frown upon it. So the generations of warfare, they evolve. We see the advents of new technologies and new methodologies in warfare all the time. If the purpose of warfare is to secure control of a population so you can control its resources, a tendency for that reason, sometimes it's, you know, my God is better than your God, and your people must adhere to my worldview and my beliefs. So in the United States, we are going through, and this is not my opinion, this is academics who have assessed what warfare is.
Oh,
You get to
okay.
kill the fifth generation.
Whoa. Okay. Well, wait a second. If it's academics who
Sixth, which we are going through, and this is not my opinion, this is academics who have assessed what warfare is. You get to fourth and fifth generational warfare, now sixth, which people are going to argue it as we form these ideas in academia, sixth may change. But fourth and fifth have to do with online political manipulations, manipulations of influence technologies, and use of insurgency. Today, it's fair to say that we are in a kinetic conflict. Civil strife began several years ago in the United States. Civil strife is not civil war, but there are many people dying. One of the easiest examples, of course, is Aaron Danielson took 2 balls to the chest from a far leftist Michael Reinhold with a communist tattoo on his neck for no reason.
Pause it for a second. So
Okay, so
what?
that's not war, all right? So you know what? Let me just say this, okay? What right now Tim is doing is he's like blending words. That's not war. What that is a bunch of people who are becoming cultists. But guess what? MAGA's like this too. Yes, okay, fine. Maybe they won't like take, I don't know, man, for real, to be honest, man, I'm starting to wonder. For certain things, I think they might, you know, straight take a, you know what I mean, a piece to somebody. I don't know. I'm not saying everybody, though. I'm not. People are crazy. I'm not going to do the collective thing. But these people act like they're not cultists on their side, too. Bro, like, you are arguing for everything that Trump does, and you saying that it's okay. Before even the elections, let me tell you something. When Trump beat out all his cases, supposedly because they gave him full immunity as a president, I was in a big debate about that. And at that time, I had not made my mind up yet if I was voting for Trump or not. But my answer, I told this was a huge Marnafal debate on Twitter, where I was saying, yo, it does not begin and end with Trump. What this precedent sets is to say that any president can come in and do whatever they want, and there's nothing we can do about it. And that's not how this country works. I was like, you know what I mean? Like, I remember saying, I was like, yo, bro, like, I'm only like 40, bro. Like, I pray that I live long enough to see more than like one freaking president, right? Like, okay, so this is good now for you guys, for your team, but this is not good for the country at all. And I remember people at MAGA saying, well, yeah, you're right, but you know what? We're just going to take the win. And I was like, okay, so like, then tell me that. So what's the difference? The left is like, nah, man, y'all the same way. This guy's over here. He looks like he's spurging out, trying to say that we are in such a civil war that Trump needs to remove habeas corpus and all this. You are trying to convince yourself, and you sound and look crazy. We're not done with this because I'm going to end up having to cover the whole thing. Like, he's insane, absolutely insane.